What up, guys? How you doing? Welcome back to the channel. Today we'll be reacting to Leftist woman asks Shapiro if he's transphobic. Let's get into it.
Against the rioters in Charlottesville and all their violence and bigotry.
Yep.
The leaders of the Charlottesville rally were empowered by the rhetoric and agenda of Donald Trump and a lot of his associates as they've come out in the Vice documentary and claimed. You've not only said controversial things, but you've had a couple of attacks against the trans community, transphobic attacks, even your call for the transfer of Palestinians, which I don't know if you've redacted that.
Yeah, I redacted that like 9 years ago.
I just wanted to make sure. I wanted to ask you. No, I'm just learning about Ben.
No, really, that's fine.
Here.
That's fine.
But even with that, do you feel that a lot of your speech could incite the same kind of violence?
I mean, you heard my speech tonight. Do you feel that my speech could incite violence?
Well,
Well, that's a valid question. Like, you've heard me speak from the horse's mouth. Do you think what I'm saying incites violence? Fair question, Mr. Shapiro.
I mean that seriously. That's an honest question.
I know you're asking honestly. I feel that for me, as an individual, it isn't, but I could see how a lot of your points I really disagreed with. I literally have a list of
And that's fine. I mean, that's the good part, right? Where we disagree and we can have a conversation.
I just was wondering in terms of, and what I mean by inciting violence is encouraging the same people who believe in like your transphobic beliefs, even that like homophobia is a sin based on your religious beliefs. Do you believe that because of what you say, you can encourage a lot of people to act on those beliefs?
So I have a very strong standard with regard to incitement, and I'm very consistent about this. If I'm not telling somebody to commit violence, I am not inciting them to violence. I've held the standard for Barack Obama when he was saying anti-police things, and then somebody went and shot up some police officers in Dallas. I said that's not Barack Obama's fault. When a Bernie Sanders supporter went and shot up a congressional baseball game, I said that's not Bernie Sanders' fault because Bernie Sanders wasn't calling for that. Political debate requires that you talk to people and people take your words as what they mean, not as an excuse to go and do violence. I've never called for violence, nor would I. As far as the idea that my words are some sort of attack, a violent attack, for example, on folks who are transgender, my view—
I'm not saying
I know, but I'm responding to the people who are not you who might say that. Okay? So the idea that I am transphobic, for example, this is a bizarre kind of attack in the sense that I don't know that I've ever exhibited phobia of trans people. I'm not afraid of trans people.
Well, transphobia is more along the lines of prejudice against the trans community.
So I actually think that your first characterization was right. I think that transphobia is really disagreement with the basic principle that the trans community is trying to purvey, which is that people's sex is malleable, that people can move from male to female, and that it is my job, objectively, to now call them the name they wish to be called, and to teach my children that men can be women and women can be men. I fundamentally disagree with that point. Now, with that said, is everybody in the United States entitled to the same rights? Of course, but your right does not extend to forcing me to call you what you want me to call you. That's not the way this works. That violates my freedom of speech. So in interpersonal relationships, if I were out to dinner with a trans person, would I make a point of noting their proper biological sex?
Right.
No, because that would be impolite. When I'm talking about the general principle of is a man a woman or is a woman a man, the answer is I will say that a man is a man and a woman is a woman and a he is a he and a she is a she. And if I'm in a public debate with somebody, I will say the same thing.
I do want to clarify that.
Okay, first thing is, I think I get where Mr. Shapiro is coming from. The thing with him is he has a stand and he's holding on to that stand of what he just explained, right? And the point that he was raising about inciting violence, I think that's actually a different way to look at things that I had never looked at them like before, because I always felt like the moment you feed into a certain energy, you are allowing that energy to feed off your actions. And sometimes people actually know what they're doing. So you know that if I say this, some people are just going to take it as gospel and go do some weird stuff. So you should be held responsible. But also as well, it's not your responsibility to dictate what other people do with certain information. No one has told you to go do something, right?
When I meant, I wasn't trying to say disagreement. I was relating it to the same definition of homophobia, which is prejudice, or I tried to say discrimination.
Right. So I think that again, homophobia. There are some people who actively want to do violence to people who are gay. Right. I mean, those people are not me or anybody that I agree with. Obviously, I've never at any point in my entire career ever advocated violence. God forbid, against anybody in a civilized society. That's not something that I believe in, and I think it's evil. As far as I think, again, your original definition of transphobia actually is better applied here as well. I think it's disagreement with certain principles that the homosexual community wishes to espouse.
What I was saying was that's not what I was. I was instead
I know,
of saying
and I'm saying that I agree
really
with your original definition and not your definition. So the definition that you made.
No, I'm not saying it's mine. It's one that I Googled that I found.
Right.
So,
and I think that definition is wrong, and I think that the one that you Freudian slipped was right. Is what
so
I'm saying.
I'm saying based on the institution of, I don't want to say the institution of Google because that's an extremely general thing to say, but in terms of as soon as you search transphobia, homophobia, this is what comes up.
Right, and I
Do
think,
you feel like even though you're disagreeing with transphobia, with the trans community, which I believe we all have our own disagreements, I'm asking, do you feel that the fact that with your disagreement, you're inherently, through the institutions that have provided these definitions, discriminating against trans community.
And
thus,
I'm saying
thus encouraging other people
Right,
to follow.
so
I know
here's
it's a
what-
long
so-
question, but I
right.
had to
That's fine.
encapsulate a lot of
So
things.
here's what I'm saying. I disagree with either their definition is wrong or it's overly broad in its application.
Okay.
So if the idea is that if I say a man is a man and a woman is a woman is inherently transphobic, that's not discrimination, that's disagreement. If they say that's discrimination, they're overly applying their own
Well, I
label.
think when you say they're mentally ill, that
Well,
gives off.
I have said, and I will continue to maintain, that gender dysphoria or gender identity disorder, whichever DSM you choose to use, is a mental illness. That is.
Interesting. Oh, so he thinks that for someone to be trans, it's a mental issue. It's not necessarily a biological issue. Interesting. What are your thoughts? My thoughts are, I don't know, because I'm not trans, so I don't know how this stuff works. I'm still learning about it. That's why I keep on reacting to these videos, because I'm actually trying to acclimatize myself to the new reality of the world that I live in and trying to learn and understand people with different perspective on the same thing. I think her question is valid. Is he transphobic? And then based off of definition, and then he's answering based off of reality, I think.
And again, God forbid that it should be said with any animus, because this is not said with animus. When people are suffering, these are clearly folks who are suffering. When people are suffering, you shouldn't be saying stuff with animus. I'm not saying that as a gotcha to people who are transgender. The point that I'm making is that when a society begins treating folks who have mental illness as though they are representing an objective reality, they are doing no service to the people who actually suffer from a mental illness. My grandfather suffered from schizophrenia, paranoid schizophrenia. He was institutionalized. If the doctors had said to him, Nate, you're fine. We believe that the radio is actually talking to you. That is not a service to him. That would have been terrible for him. Right? They put him in an institution. They gave him lithium, and it helped. Now, I'm not saying there's even a great solution for folks who have gender identity disorder or gender dysphoria, because the solutions that I've seen, including transgender surgery, are not intensely effective from all the studies that I've seen. It's a tragic, tragic situation. But the solution is not to redefine as a society what sex means along anti-biological lines. As far as the homophobia point, it's my own religious belief about the sinful nature of particular people's behavior should have no impact on how you act in a free country or how you think. It's a free country. Do what the hell you want. Right? There's religious ben, which is what I think is sinful, which is Jews who violate Sabbath, right? Jews who eat shellfish. Right? There's a lot of things that we think are sinful in Judaism. Right? And then there's the stuff where do what you want because it's a free country. I think people do a lot of sinful stuff all the time, and I'm not calling them on it. Right? I think the people who are living together outside of marriage are sinning according to my traditional religious beliefs. It's a free country. Do what you want. So when people say homophobia, I think what they are doing is saying you disagree with me. I've never called for violence, and not only that, I'm in favor of legalization of same-sex marriage in the sense I want the government completely out of marriage, right? I don't want the government in the marriage business at all. So it's very... So I think that what bothers me is when folks assume that a disagreement means that they can ascribe animus, anger, hatred, wish for violence to me.
Which is what a lot of the Charlottesville rioters were doing.
Well, the Charlottesville rioters were garbage people. I mean, I did 2 full episodes on
I
how
know.
garbage the Charlottesville rioters
I mean,
were.
this has been really great, actually, to have this dialogue. But I think
I was the #1 target of the alt-right in 2016, according to the Anti-Defamation League.
I looked you up. I
Yeah.
know. But what I I'm sorry, I don't mean to be sassy, but what I really wanted to understand was, because you have such a large platform, I mean, even through Twitter, through social media, through your website, through your, just all your work, like, do you not claim, I don't know of any particular cases where someone has said, Ben Shapiro told me to literally go murder a trans person, or someone who, as
And
you
if they
say,
did, they would be lying.
yeah, okay. I just wanted
that's-
to, like, ask you about.
Right, and if they
the
did, they would be
encouraging of the
lying, and I would
similar
think that, and again, anybody who
anti-LGBT.
commits acts of violence or evil in my name is a violent, evil person.
Okay.
And I hope that's standard for everyone. But I really appreciate you coming out.
Thank
It really
you.
means a lot to me. Thank you.
Well,
So
I get her question. So her question is, you have a platform, and then on this platform you have people with these beliefs that are doing harm to other people. Do you condone these acts that these people are doing? And then he's saying, I have the same values, but I do not control what other people do. So, like, for example, when you come on this channel, I hold certain beliefs, but how far you are willing to go with those beliefs, if our beliefs are the same, that's not on me. I just have a platform, and then this is what I believe in. I disagree with you on certain avenues of things. It doesn't mean that I'm transphobic. It just means I don't agree with the certain concepts and principles that you're pushing. So I do see his point, and I do understand her question, because it's a valid question where she's like, hey, the people that are hurting people, some of them are on your platform getting the information from you. Don't you think you have power? This is the same thing that I think happened with Andrew Tate, whereby people were like, he's influencing young people to become something. He's a danger to young people. The essence of it is not Andrew Tate is a danger to young people. It's what young people are choosing to do with the information that he gave them, right? Which is the same thing with him, whereby he's stating his values, where he sees certain things as this, and then he doesn't want to buckle on those things and move in and accept what other people say. But then there's a dangerous group of people who go out because of his information and being like, yeah, Ben Shapiro agrees with me, so I'm gonna hurt you. That's just the wrong way to do it. So yeah, I do understand both parties. I don't know if being transgender is a mental issue, if it's a biological issue. All I know is spread love, one love to everybody. You know, we live in a free world, free country. You can do whatever you want as long as it doesn't affect me. Hey, do as you wish. Just don't bring that stuff to me. And by that I don't mean, you know what I mean. Like, don't. I think the problem that a lot of people have is when people are like, "This is what I choose to do with my life. Accept me." Hey, you. It's like, no, do your thing, man. Do your thing. That's it. We live in a free country. With that said, let me know your thoughts on this in the comment section. Let me know which other videos you guys would like me to check out. I'll definitely be checking them out. Subscribe to the channel if you're new. I'll see you in the next one.